doing and listen.
time for the In the Cue Podcast with DJ Greggy C, Greg Curran, and David Hanscom. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube Live. Just search for In the Cue Podcast or go to inthecuepodcast.com. Please like our show and share this broadcast to show your support and pass on the good karma to help educate everyone how to be the best entertainer they can be. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and get notified when we go live, which is every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And now, let's hear it for DJ Greggy C. and David Hanscom.
Hey, we're back.
I look so much different than Vince, don't I?
Yeah. Or Vince looked way different than you last time.
There we go.
Yeah,
How's it going, man?
I'm all right. How are you?
Doing well. Chase, what's up, man? Checking in with us.
Hey, Chase, how are you? Yeah, I didn't want to do that show with last week without a little bit of help this time because it was a pretty big show, as we like to say.
Man.
Yeah,
Yes,
we had Hugh Riley from the Pros Weddings. Also, what is it? Wedding Bug Studios. He has both of those companies. Really, it's the mirror of the American Wedding Group. But
okay.
yeah, he was there talking about professionalism and really stepping up your game. So yeah, he had some really talking about education, some really really great tidbits. So he's
Good.
a great
I'm
guy.
definitely gonna have to go back and check it out. Braden, what's shaking, man? Always glad to start the week off with you as well, man. I'll tell you, you have to be doing something right when people say stuff like this. So I love it.
Yeah, man. No, much love for everybody. Look at all this coming in.
I know, Matt Peterson.
Wow, Matt, how are you?
Look at him with that picture with Wally, man. I love it, man. I love it.
That's great. Fabulous.
I finally, all the people that are up that way probably think I'm a nerd for saying so, but I posted this a while back. I finally got to take a picture with Wally, which is the mascot for the Red Sox, if you're not familiar.
Okay.
I finally got to take a picture with him this year when I was up there, whatever it was. Geez, I can't even remember. But when I was up there, I think in September.
Okay.
And that is a picture that I've been trying to take for years. Like every time I go, because I go up there every year, and every time I go, I'm never in the right place at the right time for the mascot. So I've literally been trying forever. And yep, there it was again.
Hey, I heard it that time. What the hell? It was know. It's like you said something real. Now I know what it is. It's like you said something really cool, and somebody was like, "Ding!" It was like,
like a phantom little piano.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is.
You got to tell everybody what happened while we were in the green room having our pre-show meeting, and they'll understand.
There it is again.
The hell is this?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, man.
All right. Well, when you hear that's the ghost saying that they like us. If anybody can identify that, we will send you a gift pack from In the Cue podcast. That includes 2 of what we are both on tonight. So
there you go. Yes. They are available for a limited time only.
Oh my goodness. So what were you up to last week besides just like working every day, probably?
Yeah, so last week I did a hybrid event, me and Nick, which I talk about all the time, that works with me. I think we're just going to have to roll with that, and we'll just ignore it like it's not even happening. We'll just pretend like but I wonder, like, listeners, do you guys hear that ding, or is it just us? Like, are we the only ones that hear it? So if you're watching right now, just type in the comments and let us know if you hear that. It's like a piano key, like somebody's just hitting a piano
ding.
Key. Weirdest thing. So anyways, we did a hybrid event for Revlon. Okay. So Chase says he hears it.
Okay.
Matt says he hears it as well. Okay. Everyone says they hear it. Okay, good. So it's a new addition to the show. We don't know how it got here and we don't know how to get rid of it. So we're rolling with it. Okay.
Yeah, we are. God damn it.
So we did a 3-day hybrid event for Revlon and CND, which is the company who makes like products for Revlon and stuff like that. And I really feel like I should be like a certified nail tech at this point, to be honest with you. I feel like I should be like a certified nail tech with all the stuff that they did and we learned. But it was a fun event. We had like a over camera shot. So they were doing like nails underneath the camera. So we had that shot and then we had a couple other shots. It was cool.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Nice. Well, I've been having, a horrendous week. I've literally Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, work. So it's been fun. It's been fun. Yeah, the club's been as most packed as it has been. And I've been heading there after my wedding. I headed there. I went and stopped and saw Millie Mill. What's up, Millie Mill?
Nice.
Saw him hanging out and playing at the club. What was it, Saturday night? But it's been more packed, than expected. I did a nice wedding at an aquarium over the weekend. I did a nice little benefit, backed up with a band. That was kind of fun. I haven't played with a band in a while. And it's either hit or miss.
Sure.
It's either bands love DJs and they're very accommodating, or bands hate DJs and you're screwed when you get there.
Did you talk to the band at all beforehand, before the event?
No, I did not. As a matter of fact, as I got there, she goes, "Okay, you're going to be playing with a band." I'm like,
wow.
"Ooh!" I'm thinking I have a 4-hour gig. That 4-hour gig turned into a 90-minute gig.
Yeah.
I had 2 45-minute sets, and then, because I thought it was odd when she says, "Are you going to be using your own sound equipment?" I said, "Unless I can plug into the hall system, I always bring my sound."
Right.
And even when I have to plug into the hall, I don't trust the hall system. I went to a hall one time and it sounded like I was playing through a broken paper bag, and their sound system was blown. So, when I got there, the band's just like, I'm like, "Can I set my stuff up?" "Yeah, you can plug right into us." That was the first sign. I'm like, "You guys are great." Ooh, ding.
There it goes again.
The second sign, the second sign was, they had these runners and there was 11 people. It's an 11-piece band. And every one of them, this is a benefit for pregnancy death and stillborn death. Now, mind you, at a fire hall, which I get it, I've done a benefit for basically everything. And this was something I'm just like, okay, sure. You feel bad for that. So I'm all in. And these guys in the band were like 4 beers in. And I'm like, really? Like, am I missing something? Like, to me, and then here, and their runner kept saying, "Here, I got you a couple." I'm like, "Oh, I don't need beer." I'm like, "Give me a few sodas, maybe." Or, a soda and one soda and one water, because I like to keep the sugar going, but then again, I like to keep myself hydrated,
gotta keep that pace, man. Gotta keep that pace.
Yeah. Ding. Hey, we can always say too, we said something right when we hear the ding.
As long as we actually did.
Yeah. I mean, could it be? It almost sounds like a Facebook thing giving us notifications saying, "Hey, here's another notice. Here's another this." But regardless, it kind of goes to what we, I at least would like to discuss tonight. Since we had, professionalism last week, etc. This week, since we really don't have a guest lined up, I wanted to talk about burnout.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doing a little too much than you should, working, to the point where you're not 100%, let me get, have you ever been there? Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, like every week it happens, but I really want to, this is interesting that you bring this up, because I've really, so dating myself a little bit, and you'll appreciate this. I remember when the Yellow Pages existed, right? And for those of you that are watching that maybe are not familiar with the Yellow Pages is, it's like a Google, but in a book, right?
The Yellow Pages, that's funny.
Right. And I remember that every year, one of the things, and I've probably said this before, but every year, one of the things that we used to do is when a new Yellow Pages book came in, we would put it side by side next to the Yellow Pages from the previous year and count how many new companies are there, how many companies fell out that are not there now, and then how many are still there. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so there's 3 categories. You were either new, or you were there last year, or you're not there this year.
Okay.
And that cycle was always happening. That wheel was always turning. And I've always for a long time thought about, why does this happen?
Why?
Braden says, "What are Yellow Pages? Who uses those?" I don't think anybody does now, but back then, and Braden, your dad will know about this too.
Braden, it's like what we used to call a newspaper. That was something that they wrote print on, and you read it, and it gave you news. But nowadays, don't necessarily think they have newspapers.
Yeah. So okay, so don't let me get too far off here, because this does have a point, right?
So you would check it.
So after thinking about this for a lot of years, I said to myself, why does this cycle keep happening? Why does this hamster wheel continue to keep going? And I really think that burnout is a big part of it, because you can also look at, if you like, we get that stuff historically, like in a spreadsheet database. So I could even go back and find out, like, how many years was somebody in the yellow pages before they fell out of the yellow pages, right? So there'd be some companies that were there for like 2, maybe 3 years, and then no further back than that. And then they were gone, right?
Okay.
And so I really think that a lot of this concept of burnout, really pertains to that. Because if you think about most of the people that get in our industry, you hear this like a broken record, which is, I'm going to charge less money because I'm new and I want to make a name for myself. Right? It's a broken record. You hear it all the time.
You know why? You know why they do that, Dave? You know what? I learned this from you, my friend.
Go for it.
They do not have a business plan.
Well, that's a part of it. That's a part of it, right? But so you charge less money because you're new and you want to make a name for yourself.
Yes.
So what happens? You get super busy, right? You get super busy a lot of times if you're lucky. And I'm going to put that in air quotes too, because that ain't necessarily luck, but you're going to feel like it's luck because you're like, oh, all of a sudden I'm real busy, right?
For $100 to $200 a party, you're going to be real busy.
Then you start realizing what really goes into making this happen. And the first thing you say to yourself is, holy crap, this is so much work. I'm not really making jack shit, truthfully, when I think about all the time that I'm investing, because that is the other, and I just had this conversation today, as a matter of fact. That is this, I don't want to use the word I use that, but this mind F, okay? That's like this mind F with our industry, because a lot of people in our industry charge per performing hour, okay? So like if it's a 5-hour event, you're charging X. If it's a 6-hour event, you're charging X, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. That is the way that it's formulated for the most part in our industry. But oftentimes people, customers, and even us as business owners forget, how are you charging for the phone calls that you're doing with these people? How are you charging for the time you're sitting at your computer running through their contract and doing all of that stuff? Yeah. How are you charging for the networking and the marketing and all of the things that you do that don't happen on Saturday between 5 and 10 p.m.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and don't forget, you got to sit down with the bride and groom and the father and mother, a week beforehand to go over everything, because not a phone call won't work. You got to take your time to meet them. All of that.
So then when you start looking at all of that, that's when this burnout, this frustration, this aggravation starts setting in, because you're like, I'm doing this for peanuts, right? So I really always try and encourage newer businesses, newer people. A couple things. Number one, you don't have to go, as Drake would say, from 0 to 100 real quick. You can literally start and crescendo your way up, okay? If you have to do this part-time until you get to the point where you're doing it more part full-time, as I like to call it. So to me, part full-time means maybe you still have another job, but you're still DJing three, maybe 4 weekends out of the year, right? But it's not your full-time income, but you're still doing it, what would be deemed full-time, right?
Right.
You don't have to start there, okay? So if you maintain whatever your source of income is, whatever your job is, wherever you're making money, and you realize that it makes more sense for me to charge a rate that's comparable for the amount of work that I'm doing, whether this is the first event I do or the first 10 events I'm doing, and understand that maybe you do less events, but you still make the money you should be making, which will further justify in your head and not give you that mind F. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, less events, okay. A little bit more money. Get yourself what you're worth, so you don't have to kill yourself.
Yeah, because that's where you want to get to anyways. So if you know that that's where you want to get to anyways, why not friggin' start there? And I think like that's what everybody's worried about, is like, oh, I'm not going to have much business. It's not price that you're not going to have much business. That's not the reason. It's just you haven't identified yourself yet. You haven't proven yourself yet. And guess what? You have to go through that process anyways, at no matter what price you're at.
Truth.
And once you start selling yourself at $250, $300 an event, or $500, or whatever it is, that leap to where you really want to be, it's going to be a much more difficult leap. Much more difficult leap.
Yeah. No, you got a point.
And then not only that, this concept and this feeling of burnout changes over time. Okay. Because when you get to the point in your career where we are, and I'm telling you, I don't know if I have ADD or ADHD or any whatever DD, and I'm not making fun of anybody, but you moving around and doing everything you're doing over there, I'm surprised I can continue to keep talking, because I got to
stop this ding, because now I'm hearing this ding, bro.
Like, I'm watching you doing everything you're doing. I'm wondering, man, what am I missing out that I can't see on the screen?
I've shut down. Hold on. I've shut down. I literally had all of these. Yeah. And I said, what's different? Because this ding just keeps happened to getting louder. So I've been getting all these ding, ding, ding. And as you talk, you've heard it. I shut down every program on my computer. Weird. So now it's just StreamYard. And I said, all right, that's the only thing that's up. My sound effects computer is going off in about 3 seconds, because I'm done with it. I can't. It's driving me nuts. Speaking of ADD, OCD, my obsessive compulsive disorder, this is almost as bad as the fucking guy who played the saxophone Sunday night, who they said, here's a great idea. Let's have a guy play the saxophone along with the DJ. Yeah. He's lucky I didn't put the what does the Halloween dude carry? A big machete?
Yeah, sure.
He's lucky I didn't do that right in the center of his fucking head. And sorry for cursing, but
you're good. All right. So Braden says, what happens when you have a oh shit moment and you are booked on the same day at the same time and a single op? Yeah, that's a tough problem to have. First of all, I would probably say that's a scheduling problem that needs to be attended to. Like, and Braden, I'm not saying that you're doing this, but I think probably everybody's been there. Sometimes you just, I don't know, for whatever reason, you have a brain fart, or you think that I don't have an event that day, and then you just arbitrarily say, yeah, I can do it. Like, a lot of things can happen. And I think that when these things kind of happen, that's a good reason to have, friends in the business. That's a good reason to have a good, positive working relationship with other DJs in your community, because hopefully then you can reach out to them. I mean, I've been in this position just in the last probably 5 months. I've had 2 instances where DJs on my staff have had a family member pass away or something like that they've had to just up and go to take care of that, and their events had to be replaced by somebody. I've had either 1 or 2 instances of COVID where that's happened, where the DJs had COVID and had to have somebody work for them for that. And to be honest with you, most of the time I had to hire a DJ from another company, completely other company. And just a piece of advice, just strictly from my opinion, doesn't matter whether you agree with it or not, just my personal opinion. When you do something like that, don't ever be cheap about what you pay that other DJ. Take good care of that other DJ. Always take care of anybody who works for you. Don't get me wrong. But when you're hiring another company to bail you out of something, honestly, it doesn't matter if you pay them the whole amount of money that you got paid for the event. It's better to do that. It's better to do that than not have somebody show up or have a bad name for yourself. Don't make a decision about how you're going to do your business on one event.
How about they do a bad job?
Well, if they do a bad job, then you pick the wrong fucking person to do it.
Aha. Where's that ding when we need that ding? I did the ding go away?
It must have. I haven't heard it.
I shut down every goddamn piece of electronics in my basement. I think it was the Vesper. It's the sound computer, or the computer we used for the sound effects. It's haunted like everything else in that place. And speaking of haunted, all the haunts came out starting on the Thursday before Halloween. And it's no bullshit, because I was there. The girl was talking to somebody. Somebody says, oh, you got to talk to our AV guy, because he knows the story of this place. She was all by herself putting up all the Halloween decorations late at night. And she called the police. The police came, they investigated. They said, there's nobody in here, ma'am. She goes, no. Somebody grabbed me and I can't find them. They're in here.
Wow.
Nobody grabbed her. The place was locked. The girl came up to me and she says, she goes, I'm never working here by myself again. I said, did you learn this place was haunted? She goes, that's why I'm here talking to you. What do you mean it's haunted? Who haunts it? Blah, 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 blah. I said, you know what? Watch the movie The Irishman. There's an old Philadelphia mobster named Angelo Bruno. This was his Italian social club. And there's a reason that there's 20 inches of concrete in the interior basement walls. 20 inches. Not 12, 20.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I could go on about that place, about what's up, but the craziest things happen, and it seems to happen with A, electronics, and then B, doors and any type of locking mechanisms. Like you'll hear bangs, you'll hear doors open and close, you'll hear people walking on the steps upstairs. There's nobody in the place. Place is empty. It's empty. Yeah. But anyway,
no, that's crazy. Ironically that you say that, and I don't want to cut you off too much other than to say that I had a very similar experience at one of the venues that I work at frequently. One of the girls who works there, she was saying that, and she actually showed me pictures. She was up breaking down the venue by herself and all of this stuff, and she showed me pictures of what looked like actual it looked like this woman with like a skeleton face. I'm like, oh my God, I got the heebie-jeebies just looking at it, because I was like, man, that is weird.
And she took it with her camera?
Yeah, with her iPhone camera.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh wow. Look, getting back to burnout and being the king of creating burnout for other guys. When I worked for the pros, that was my job, to burn you the hell out. I would find you. I would make sure that you work. Now, and you said it earlier. Most of these guys that do it have a full-time job first, and then they're a DJ second. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I say it happens less for those that are full-time disc jockeys. If you're a full-time disc jockey, I think you know how to balance out your work. But those that worked full-time during the day, and I worked Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, and you know what? The good ones, they'd work Friday, they get a double on Saturday, and if they were lucky, they get a double on Sunday.
Yeah. And
if you were really lucky, maybe a Wednesday and a Thursday night event, if we were during the summer and the kids were still, the schools were still having parties. So that said, I would find probably there out of 25 DJs, say in one branch, I would probably only have 2 or 3 that could manage that. And out of the 2 or 3 that could manage that, I would work 2 out of the 3 constantly, weekly, until they couldn't take it anymore. And why? Because, well, first of all, I knew I wasn't going to have any problems from them. 2, I felt I owed it to them because, from what I paid back then, it wasn't much. These guys were working for peanuts at the time. And one of the thing was, well, I can pay peanuts, but you get a lot of peanuts. Whatever. I mean, when you don't have money or you need it, you work, and you work hard. But that's what these guys.
You know what though? That I was just thinking that's an interesting topic about money. Now I know that you and I started a long time ago
with Chase,
long time ago, right? Do you remember how much money you got paid when you first started DJing?
$35 an hour.
Yeah. I got paid $10 an hour when I first started DJing.
$10 an hour?
$10 an hour.
Wow.
When I first started DJing, I got paid $10 an hour. And
I'm older than you.
What's that?
I'm older than you.
Well, I was clearly working for the wrong company.
Were you an assistant? Were you an assistant?
No, wow. I was a DJ, man. And it was like it was a company similar to the pros.
Okay.
It wasn't the pros. It was a company similar to the pros.
Okay.
And they were located in I don't want to give too much away because I'm not trying to dog these people out, but they were located in Tampa, Florida. And I went there. I did like this weekend quote unquote training because it was really me just watching some dude sit down and change cassettes because that's what we were using at that time. Very quickly moved into using CDs, by the way. I went for their weekend training, and then I was like their North Florida person. But I'm telling you, man, there were times where I spent more money in gas to go to the event than I got paid to do the event. you know?
Yeah. Well, $10. Look, if you were making $10, what is it? $10 an hour?
Mhm.
Gas was what, like 35 cents a gallon back then?
It was a little more than that.
Cigarettes were more expensive. They were 85 cents a pack when gas was 35 cents a gallon. No, I get it. This wouldn't happen to be the company that we're not going to mention it, but we know, no, the pretty popular company down there.
I don't know. Send me in the private chat and I'll tell you whether it's them or not. I don't want to say it out loud, but
I got one word to say: child molester. No, yes or no?
No.
Okay,
no.
that's all I need.
Nope.
Good.
But you know what? I learned so much from that experience. And so, I think there is a sense of humility. There's a sense of understanding the value of what you're worth when you have to work your way up to earning that opportunity, because when I first started, what was I really worth? I hadn't proven anything yet. I hadn't shown that I'm capable of doing anything in this industry yet. And so, it was definitely, I don't know, just for me, it was just a great experience. And I know everybody's different, and some people, don't believe in that philosophy necessarily. But I wouldn't trade it for the world.
No, you're that I believe in, because you have to experience it for yourself. You have to figure out what you're worth. You have to know that, well, it's only a 4-hour gig. Is it really only a 4-hour gig? That 4-hour gig can end up being an 8-hour gig by the time you're done.
Yeah.
And the traveling to and from, and the setting up, and the time on the phone, everything that we said earlier about that, just keep on adding that time to your gig, where your 4-hour gig turned into an 8 to a 10-hour gig. Now, how much you're charging, and Braden said something earlier, and I just wanted to share a little tidbit, because it's recently, within the past 6 months, they had a change. When I started management, and I started managing these DJs, like you say, because besides burning them out, the other problem I had was we were notorious for, there were more gigs than there were DJs, and across the nation. So in Orlando, we would have 40 gigs and we would have 35 DJs. In Philadelphia, you do the same thing. You're always 4 or 5 DJs shy. So it was our job to not only, you didn't hire a company, you did that last minute. But what you tried to do was you tried to hire these people, you put them through a training class and get them out by the time, you forecasted. You said, oh, well, next, in 2 weeks, I'm going to need 5 DJs that I don't have. So by that time, you're going to graduate 5. So you would have your ducks in a line and your people in line. But how would you do it correctly? And I actually stumbled upon something that was called Community Walk. It was a map that had Google Maps, and I would say, okay, David lives here in this city. So I would put you as like a little pinpoint, boom, on the map. And Greg lives here in this city, boom, pinpoint. Joe lives here, boom. So then you would pull up a map, and it would have all of your pinpoints. And my DJs were one color, my videographers were another color, and my photographers were another color, photo booth operators another. I was now building a map with all of my employees. Somebody says, hey, Greg, I've got a gig in Tampa, Florida. And then I would hook up my map, and I would go, bing, let me find Tampa. And then I would search around it within a 60-mile radius and see how many DJs I've had. And there the calls started, and that was just a scheduling thing. Nowadays that I'm done that crap and mess, and I don't have to schedule, national DJs, and nobody oversells now. There's ever since, I think it was just past the millennium, we haven't exceeded events as far as DJs. I think the millennium was that, all the DJ gigs just started to go sideways, or the saturation of the market helped out as well. But, quadrupling your charges for your clients didn't hurt. But that all stopped. Now that tool is used that, since I have this network of people, I've got companies that call me up and say, oh my God, I've got this guy. It's Friday night. I've got an hour to cover it. Do you have any people? I saved that map and I just built upon it. And anytime somebody had a problem, I'd go to that map, I'd make a few calls, and bang, I would have the gig covered. And those people would have work because they are freelancers, and they always should have been. and they knew that, one of their booking managers was getting them work. And that's what I would do. I would cover these gigs that way. I encourage anybody, Braden, whomever, whether you have one or multiple, take your friends, take those that can do these gigs, those that you networked with that we discussed during the Senate, the Senate podcast and with the Senate boys. It was all about networking and finding guys like that, that know what they're doing so that you can trade work with them. And we can all help each other out that way. You put them on a map, and this way your problems will be solved a little bit easier. Now, Community Walk went away, and it went away last month. And guess what? I had a map with over close to 600 independent contractors just disappear into cyberspace. Thank God. One.
All right. Well, looks like he disappeared. So there's that. So it's just me until he gets back. Gotta love that. You never know what's going to happen in this world, right? I guess those are the demons and the ghouls and hauntings of Halloween. So hopefully Greg will be back in a minute and we'll get him back on. But in the meantime, just talking a little bit about burnout. Hope you guys are able to get something out of tonight's show. If you're still watching, if you have a comment or question or something you'd like to discuss in reference to that, maybe talk a little bit about how you deal with burnout. How do you feel? Do you feel it coming on quickly enough to where you're able to address it, before it gets too overwhelming or something like that? That's one of the areas that I've tried to get really better at, is making sure that if I feel myself, coming on, here comes Greg back with us. If I feel myself kind of getting to the point where I'm feeling overstressed, then I'm quick to say, hey, maybe I need to take a step back and kind of figure out what I can do to fix that. Greg, welcome back, man. I was just talking a little bit about just dealing with, knowing when you feel like, hey, I'm getting to the point where I'm going to be burnt out pretty soon. I need to make a quick change. So
yes, and that's where I'm getting to now, because I actually clicked us away. I'm just like, and the ding came. Did you hear the ding went once? It went ding. I'm like, maybe it's this. And I'm like, hey, where'd you guys go? Where'd everybody go? Guess I'm burnt out from working too hard.
That's it.
But anyway, look, my point was, before this all went to shit, Google has everything. It's just called Google My Maps. They allow you to really just take a little pinpoint, bink, and you can do whatever you want. You could tag the hottest ski areas, for Christ's sake, or tag all the hot places you're going to go on your bucket list, or where am I going to go on my trip? There are so many uses that you can utilize this map for, but one of them, if you have, a company that you're doing services like DJ, videographer, photographer, put your people on this map so that you know how to schedule them accordingly. You don't send a guy that's 5 minutes away to a gig that's 2 hours away, and vice versa, where you're paying to crisscross people and travel them. It makes no sense. It's economically unfeasible. But in Braden's point, it helps you when you get stuck, even if you only have to use it once a year.
Right.
So, there's my point there. And it
makes a lot of sense.
It's just like the adage. If that never happens, till you at least be prepared for it, because the day somebody mentions it and says, hey, we've had no problems with any of the audio visuals tonight, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have problems with the audio visuals tonight, like happened last week. Or I go to my gig on Saturday and I take my assistant and he goes, oh, you use a little MP3 player and that's all you got for your cocktail hour? I said, what do you mean? I've been using it for 20 years. I've never had a problem in 20 years. And I thought in the back of my head, you just fucking jinxed me. Guess what happened when I got to the event? Guess what happened?
I bet it didn't work.
It didn't work. And I looked right at him and I said, you just jinxed my ass. And it wasn't the first time. He did it twice that night. So every time he said something, I made sure I had a backup. So this was the only ceremony that I not only had this little player, I had my computer set out. Oh my God. I had backups for a ceremony, for Christ's sakes, 2 songs.
Yeah.
So whatever. I mean, it all goes to burnout. You got to learn to roll with the punches and learn to just not, so what? Let the little stuff, let it go. Don't sweat the little stuff. the big stuff, work with the big stuff to fix it and make sure it doesn't happen in the future. That's it.
Right.
That's it.
Well, and another thing too to think about. Sorry, I'm just checking some comments from social media here.
Okay.
You know me, I feel like I'm always the king of multitasking, but the thing is that it's okay. It's okay sometimes to take some time away. There's an old saying that says absent makes the heart grow fonder. And I really honestly think that can be applicable even to a job or to whatever it is you do, because I know that when let's think about when COVID happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
A week, maybe 2 weeks into it, we were all losing our friggin' minds, going on Facebook trying to DJ like that's the same thing. We all found out really quickly that wasn't the same thing, right? And so the point behind that is that, again, absence makes the heart grow fonder. And sometimes it makes sense for you to spend some time away from this instead of getting yourself to a point of burnout where you start making those mistakes. You start having those absent-minded, you're not as sharp as you normally are, and so I guess my point is don't be afraid to take some time away. It's not a bad thing.
Oh, you have to. You have to. There's some guys, I haven't taken a vacation in 6 years. Really?
Yeah, that's probably why you're pulling your friggin' hair out.
Yeah. That's why that guy is pulling their hair out. They're starting to get a little bit cranky. You know what I mean? Every time you talk to them, they're snapping at you, and eventually that's going to pull over to their clients. And when that does, it's a bad day for them.
I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen literally in front of me, where I just want to try to find a piece of gaff tape and throw it over the guy's mouth. I'm like, dude, you got to stop right now. You're putting yourself in a terrible position right now. Stop talking, right? But obviously you can't do that when it's happening live right there. But it directly related to being stressed out, directly related to being exhausted. No coincidence that the person I'm talking about, no coincidence that he just told me no more than maybe 5 or 10 minutes before that, man, I've done like 17 events in the last 30 days.
Of course you did.
Yeah, that's a lot. First of all, if you really did do that, that's a hell of a lot of work. Mm-hmm. And I don't care how good of a DJ you think you are, or a photographer, or whatever it is you do, that's a hell of a lot of work. Yeah. And I'm known for doing that kind of work, but I've also been doing this for a hell of a long time. And I know when it's time for me to step away. I know when it's time for me to go. And this is something that I've also learned kind of just recently about really being in tune with where I'm at mentally, so that I know when I have reached that point of like, all right, David, you're about to cross the line here as far as the way you're being or the way you're talking or whatever. Because I've had people call me out on it, and I appreciate when they do. I appreciate when people are like, look, man, you're seeming a little testy, man. You need to probably chill that out a little bit. I appreciate when people do that. Matt said he took a mini vacation last week and booked an hour massage. Man, that's awesome.
Wow.
That's awesome. I need to do that, man. I need to get a massage. It's been
Matt, what did the guy look like?
Ba-dum.
Yeah, if the sound effects were on, the ding would be happening. But yeah, look, it's perfect example, Matt. Really, yes. Book yourself a massage. Go to Vegas. Go get yourself whatever, a hooker, whatever it takes. I don't care.
That might be a bit extreme, but hey, who knows? Maybe for some that works.
Look, have you seen some of the freaks in this industry that do what they do? I mean, you obviously don't go out to Atlantic City like we did last year in Vegas. I mean, some of these guys, they need the party. And when you see, when I go out and party with these guys, I get it, and that's the other thing. It's not, I don't like to party with necessarily wedding DJs because they go off the hook. It's just it's insane what they do. But the club DJs that do this, and those that are, I guess, your hybrid, they kind of do both. They'll do the clubs and the bars, they'll do the bowling alleys, they'll do the birthdays, but they'll still do the wedding. These are the guys where the burnout happens, but also they're the guys, they work hard, but they party hard as well. or they work hard and then they relax hard, because the same guy that's working, say, oh, what are you doing next week? Well, next week I'm taking the girlfriend and we're going to go out and we're going to walk, the beaches of whatever. And I'm just like, really? What up? That's all you're going to do? Well, yeah, we're going to do a lot of walking in nature. Okay, great. Why? Because that's what the dude wants to do. It calms him down and it puts him back on reset, And another thing, most of the guys that work so much and we get in the car, we go to a gig. I'm like, what? No music? It's talk radio. Why we listen to talk radio? Why do you think it's burnout? Well, you're going to listen to music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and the same stuff that you play. A lot of these guys say, I can't take it anymore. I have to listen to talk radio. It throws them off. Or they listen to something really soothing, like a smooth jazz on the way to an event, or maybe even a classical. One dude used to chill out all day long in his office to classical music. I loved it because I felt so peace and tranquil. And I would sit there. I'm like, dude, can I burn a candle too? Or some incense to put me in that vibe? But
I've always felt like anybody who listens to classical music could potentially be a serial killer. That's just my own. That's just my own personal opinion. Again, maybe not true, but I feel like that's a known this person could be a serial killer.
But, and I'm going to mention him anyway. But Hugh Riley last week, the owner of the Pros and the owner of Wedding Bug, when I would go sit and I visit him at his house, it was not necessarily classical. Because classical is a little whatever. But this was more of a mellow piano, shall we say? Yeah, it wasn't your classical, but it was more of a piano thing where it's like the moods CD, shall we say, that really sets the vibe or sets the move and calms your heartbeat down and whatever. But that's what I really like, because I like to walk into an office that's like that doesn't have the bright white lights, maybe has the orange lights, because all of that, and why I'm talking and saying all of that is, if you have an office and you're this multi-op or a DJ, and you're in a hospital room working environment with these white lights, try chilling out what you do during the day. Why? One guy said, I can't change that. The office has these big long tubes. I said, they sell these honeycomb, things to diffuse the light. I said, you pay $20 a piece, and you can diffuse them. You can also change the color from bright white to a I forget what, tungsten or whatever the orange color is. And it plays a lot on your mood. I mean, you can even look up, what you can paint your office as to change the mood of what you're going to be like, especially if you got to work there 8 hours a day. There's a lot, and that's just sight and sound. There's sounds, there's smells, but there's also what you eat. I mean, do you drink enough water a day? Do you drink eight ounces of water a day? Do you eat the right foods? All of this put together with working your ass off is going to kill you. Look at some of the older DJs in this industry, those that have been doing it forever. Take a look at their face. Take a look at the way they look. No pun intended to any of these guys that we know. Look, Dave, for you and I, we're exceptions to the rule. And I can say it, and the thousands of people that know both of us can say that. I had a kid on Thursday night. And these poor little kids, I don't know what the hell they were doing, but they were sweating their asses off. The club was 90 degrees, and I felt bad. I got them a big old thing of water, because I don't know if they have the money to buy an Evian or whatever. Here, dude, drink this. He goes, thank you. You have a young heart, he said. I said, he's saying that because I have a white beard or whatever. He goes, but no, I know why he said that. He goes, because, the people he hung out with and whatever, they weren't the, maturest. But I felt bad for them, and we're all humans in this. And when you're sweating and you look like you're going to almost pass out, somebody's going to help you. Nobody else was. But point being, as I get back to this, is the older DJs have this bad rap as we get older for being more cranky, less in touch with the younger crowd, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And these are the ones that burn out more. Why? Because they've done it now for 25, 30 years, and they haven't conditioned themselves to do the right thing. And it ages them quickly. Their body, their face, all of their physical expressions if they don't do it correctly. Now, mind you, there's a bunch out there that as long as they, do the right things, they eat right, they live right. You'll even hear as they talk, they don't sound pissed off. They don't sound like Grandpa Simpson all the time.
Right.
They don't have that. It's a positive. The glass is always half full. It's not half empty. And it's a mental thing that you put yourself into anyway. But as long as they have that, you'll notice those guys, they look younger. You're like, how old are you? I'm not going to mention any names, but you and I know those guys as well.
Mm-hmm.
They've been in this for a long time, but they take this a little bit differently. And these are the ones that are still younger. Where the ones that are killing themselves, they're ready to croak tomorrow.
Right.
We should make a Deadpool for some of them. It's a shame, but there's the warning signs right there. Don't burn yourself out. Take that break. Go get your massage, like Matt said. Hell, know what you are doing in this job and know how long of the time that you're actually putting into it. As Dave said earlier, as long as you know and have an idea of what you're doing, you can see this future and then you can prepare for it. Right.
Well, I also think that we have to be careful. There is a business owner who is maybe a single op, and there is a business owner who is a multi-op and has, and you could be one of the people that are working for this multi-op. First and foremost, you always got to remember that if you work for a company, you're not going to probably make what you make, if you were a single op on your own or something along those lines. But it's also important. But it's also important to remember that that the company is putting a lot of work into helping you get events, things like that. Another thing that I think sometimes gets really overlooked in this conversation is the level of liability that you as the business owner have. And if you're a business owner and you have people working for you, you should really listen to what I'm about to say, because liability is something that people don't think about. So let's say, remember earlier when you were talking about Braden's point, and you said, well, what happens if they do a terrible job?
Oh yeah.
Great example. If they do a terrible job, unless you already have this established with them, which, let's be honest, most people don't, unless you already have something established with them, you probably already paid them for the event. And if the client asks for the money back, guess who's giving them the money back? You are. That DJ isn't giving them their money back. That's called liability. Here's another thing to think about. Let's say you've got somebody booked on 5, 6, 7 events off in the future. They decide to just up and quit on you, or they decide to start their own business, or they decide to do whatever. Guess who still has to facilitate those events? You do. Your business, your company. That's also called liability. And those are things that there has to be a mutual respect and understanding between the business owner and the people that work for that business, and realize why a lot of times, and I don't even want to get into like percentage breakdowns and hourly rates and all of this stuff, because everybody pays people the way they pay people. And that part of it is really kind of irrelevant. Yep. As long as whoever you have working with you and whoever you are working for, as long as y'all are all comfortable with what's going on, then whatever. But I think it's important. It's so vitally important to understand this concept of liability, because it's kind of one of those things that's like insurance, or it's kind of like one of those things that you don't always see it, but it's there. And when it happens, holy crap, you're either glad if it's insurance that you have it, or holy crap, you're in a pickle if you have to be the person on the end of that liability, because you're stuck holding the bag. Like I said, somebody decides to quit on you, somebody decides to move on, you got to deal with it. They don't, they're done. They don't care. They're out of here. You're muted, by the way. Still muted.
It's the biggest thing in this industry, especially when you have a multi-op. You hire X number of DJs. Everybody wants to work. Everybody wants to work. Everybody wants to be a DJ. until it's time to work.
Yeah.
Once it becomes, oh, I'm going where? How far is it? I just called the hall. Oh, you called them? You were supposed to call them last week. Yeah, I know, but the gig's tomorrow and I called them Friday. Do you know they have 24 steps in the back?
Mm-hmm.
So what? Well, my back and blah, 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 and that, and then the excuses start coming out. We've all heard them. I mean, I don't have to go into that, but everybody wants to do this job and everybody wants to work until it's time to work. I just, it's like anything, like I said, the jinx has happened. Something hasn't happened in 20 years. It's going to happen. You go to a gig and all of a sudden, first thing that happens is, well, you don't give yourself an hour to get to a place that's an hour away, and now you're late, and then you suffer and you pull in there with 5 minutes to spare. And then because of that, just things start to go wrong. Why? Because you're 5 minutes late. Then, you got a problem with your cordless mics. Oh, you got a problem with your sound. Now you got a problem with your speaker. Scramble, 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 scramble. Bride's waiting for you. Can we line up? Can we do this now? I have the list. Can we go over the list? Putting more pressure upon you. You do the gig, everything gets right. The people start coming at you. I don't want to hear this. Can you play this now? People will dance to it if you play it now. Blah, 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 blah. Whatever the cliche is about the music, they're bugging you all night long. You go up to the bride and groom, end of the night, it's finally done. You're like, oh, thank God this gig is over with. You know what I mean? Yes, the bride and groom. How'd everything go? Yeah, fine. Thanks. Great job. See you. Goodbye. No tip, no nothing. And that usually, look, when I managed multi-ops, that was the other thing. Most of the people got all upset because they didn't get tips. Like, are you shitting me? First of all, you probably didn't deserve the tip, because a tip is for somebody that goes above and beyond the call. Above. And I always told my clients, well, should I tip them? How much should I tip them? I said, and now it's out, because I can't get in trouble because I don't manage these fools anymore. But I told them, don't tip them. Don't pre-tip them. Don't pre-tip them. Why? Because how about if they don't do a good job? Or how about if you only give them $20 and you think they deserve 1,000 or 100? That's why. Because it can be different from the end of the night. If they're nasty, if they're mean, if there becomes a problem, they don't deserve a tip.
Yep.
Are you going to tip your waiter if there were problems with them all night long and it took you an hour and a half to eat when everybody else took 10 minutes? Are you really? And it's your waiter's fault, and your waiter's being a douche to you. Are you going to tip that person?
Wow.
Am I wrong, Dave?
That's powerful stuff, man.
But am I wrong? You tell me you do. You always do. You always correct me. Say, Greg, nope, you're totally wrong. But no, I'm not going to tip.
No. I think you're absolutely right on that. I think a tip is something that's earned, not it shouldn't be expected. As a matter of fact, one of the guys, he doesn't work for me anymore because he had to move on to doing some things in his life and so forth, but still a really good friend of mine and always will be. And he would say to everybody new that came into this company, he would say to them, if you haven't earned your tip by the time you got to the event, you don't deserve to get one.
Right.
Dude, that's fucking powerful, man.
Right?
That's fucking powerful.
Yeah.
If you haven't earned the tip before you get to the event, you don't deserve to get one. Now, somebody's going to probably argue with me and say, oh, but what if I do a smash out, knockout? I just played all the right music at all the right time and blah, blah. Guess what? That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. You earned your money.
That's what you're supposed to do.
You earned your money.
So yeah, I'm right there with you, and I think that if you're expecting to get a tip, you're doing it all wrong.
Right.
If you earn the tip before you even get to the venue, right, you're doing it all right.
That's what used to piss me off when guys would be upset that, I'm probably not going to get tipped here. How can you look at it and say you're probably not going to get tipped? You're a schmuck. Schmuck on wheels. Goodbye. Go do your gig and next, because you're a number just like the other 25 people. And that's what they have become to me. You got to be careful how you deal with people that are giving you the gigs anyway, because it's do you want the 6-hour gig with the 2 hours overtime, or do you want the 4-hour gig that I know you're going to travel up 3 flights of stairs? My decision, right? And you as a multi-op, same thing. I mean, it's our decision on who you put on what gigs. Well, you got the complainer, he's going to get this gig, or you got the guy. Of course, it's how they deal with it. And I had to deal with it this year. I mean, I told you I had a big thing with the city of Philadelphia. They were popping weekday gigs during the week. During the week, I was getting
that's redundant.
four or five a day. 4 or 5 a day. And I've got a nice staff of guys that I can go to. But it got to the point where that 4 or 5 turned into about 8. Now, when it got to be 8, I didn't want to be the guy who couldn't cover it. So I started reaching a little bit further to those guys that, I haven't used in a while. And there's a reason you haven't used them in a while. And don't ever feel bad. And this is my tip, and I'll leave and we'll be done, hopefully, and you'll hear less of me in the dinging and moving around. But this son of a bitch, and tonight's a passionate night, and we've said so many curses. I don't think we said so many curses tonight than we have it in the whole season. But I have to tell you this: we get to our gig. It's 2 hours. It's 12 to 2. Okay, and it's going to be raining that day. And I told all of these DJs, hey, look, all you got to do is show up. If the captain decides to cancel it, you still get paid. I'll pay you your full amount for your gig, even though you didn't do your 2 hours of your gig. And it's $100 an hour you're getting. Okay. And I'm calling this guy. I'm like, you're late. You're not at your gig. It's almost 12 o'clock. Where are you? Well, I decided not to go. Why did you decide not to go?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't have a pop-up. I said, you told me before you had a pop-up. That was one of the contingencies of doing this. Now, mind you, I felt bad because the guy delivers Domino's during the day. I said, you know what? Maybe I could give him a gig and hook him up. I mean, that's what he's been doing for the past 8 years. And I kind of felt bad for him. I said, look, let me give you more than what you would make, in 2 hours than you would in like a whole day of delivering pizzas. And literally he calls me 5 minutes before the start. I'm just not going to show. I got on the phone with another guy. I said, hey, could you do me a favor? I said, do you have your stuff in your car? Yeah, but I'm not dressed. I'm like, just throw your clothes in your car. You're probably not going to need it. Make your way over towards this part and I'll pay you half the amount just for the drive over. I'll give you $100. He says, really? I said, yeah, if you end up DJing, I'll pay you double. Nice. Guess what happened? Dude made it there in 10 minutes. Okay. And just like all these other events, he went there. Nobody was ready, whatever. He found the person that was in charge of the event, knocked on the door, and the person says, oh, by the way, I forgot to call and tell you we're canceling for today. That other dude walked away from $200 just by some, I don't feel like going out, but this is what you're going to have to put up with. These type of people that are working for your company, and you said it, and I should have ding, 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 ding. You said it. They don't care. You care. I care. We own the company. They work for us. What do they care? Really? What do they really care? It's just, oh, I have the sniffles.
But they should.
My head hurts. Dave, I can't work this weekend.
I will say though, again, this is strictly my own opinion, but they should care because most of us have, well, I don't want to say most, a lot of people in our industry have subcontractors. They don't have employees. Okay. So if you're 1099ing people, in all reality, you're like a middleman between the customer and them. Okay. Like, the fact that you're 1099 them means they have their own business. I don't care if they call it by their name or if they call it a certain thing or whatever it is. If you're being 1099, you are a business that I'm hiring to subcontract to do the work for this business.
Yes.
And you should treat it accordingly. Now, it's totally different potentially when you have people that are employees. And I know there are people, there's going to be pros and cons to that whole conversation. And this is, first of all, we're already over time, so it doesn't matter to go into that. But the point that I just wanted to reiterate based on what you said is that the more you care, the more you'll receive. The more you have this attitude of, I deserve, or this attitude of, whatever, you're not going to last. And not just in this, but in anything.
Yeah, well, I deserve. That is part of the entitled generation, and it bleeds over to the older folks, and all. I mean, I'm tired. You watch Joe Namath on television. You got to get what you're entitled to. If I hear that one more time by Joe Namath, I swear to God, I'm going to smack the old right off of his face.
That's funny. That's funny.
I mean, and I like this guy. Not that I don't like the Jets. I hate the Jets. They suck. But Joe was a cool guy. Come on, he's Paisan. But I mean, between him and JJ Walker, oh my God, you know, and the thing is, my wife's like, why do you watch that stuff during the day? Like, because it's background noise, you know, and I'm trying to do stuff, or I'm making mixes. I got music. I'm watching, you know, the two of them talk about get what you're entitled to. It's the entitled generation, and that's what we got to live with. But look, enough said. Burnout. Give yourself a relaxation week, a day, maybe after your gig. Try doing little different things. Try listening to different music. Try just turning off certain things. Try taking a walk, getting into nature, doing something other than what you're doing musically. Whether you're making music or things. Don't think if you're a DJ, oh, I'm just going to go make some music and still be involved in the music industry, and that'll calm me out. If it works, it works. But if not, try something different, like painting or some type of art or something that doesn't have to do with music, because maybe it'll remind your brain, you know, less about stress and the strenuous time that you're having, you know, with this, because you know, you're not doing, and whether you're doing the right things or not, if you're not doing the right things, you're just going to go faster. That burnout is going to go faster. Why? Because you're getting to your gigs late. It's going to cause more anxiety. That anxiety is going to cause more white and gray hairs. That's why we're not that bad right now, because we're not that late.
Well, and if all of else that fails, try creating a gratitude journal.
Ooh,
I'm telling you right now, a gratitude journal will help you go a long ways, and force yourself at the end of every event. It's getting ready to be 2022. You know, here's a challenge. Get yourself a notebook, call it your gratitude journal, and every event you work, at the end of the event, challenge yourself to write something that you appreciated, you enjoyed, a positive something out of that event.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think that's I've never heard it really put that way, or the first time I've heard gratitude journal, but it sounds not too far off from what I say is really, you need to take stock and count your blessings.
Yeah.
Really what we're doing is, besides counting my blessings, I'm writing them down to remind myself of my blessings, what I am grateful for in life in general. I love it.
Yeah, no, there is a power in the written word, and you will retain it more in your head. And not only that, you can go back and look on it, because this gratitude journal, there's two parts of it. The first part of it is writing those things down. The second part of it is knowing that when you get faced with adversity, when you get faced with that point of where you feel like your head's going to explode, you're going to pull your hair out, go back and look at what you wrote. Go back and remind yourself of all the good things that come out of what you do. Because there's a lot of good things that come out of what we do. It's easy to complain. It's easy to gripe. We all do it. You know, I do it a lot. I hate the fact that I do it. And, you know, hate's always a strong word to use, but I strongly dislike the fact that I do it. But I am very much about gratitude and very much about having a positive mindset. You've commented on that a lot. But it makes a difference. I'm telling you, it does. If all else fails, just try it. Yeah, your audio's gone. Still gone. Gone. Gonzos. Yeah.
How about now?
Now you're there.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's because I kicked out a chord. That's all right. Whatever. I expected nothing less than tonight. Speaking of all the jinxes, because when I tell you, when I went to this gig, I bought a buddy of mine. He's that guy that mentions everything. Yeah. Well, what if this happens? I'm not going to mention anything. What if this happens? What if that happens? I said, will you shut the fuck up? Please shut up. and the other rule I gave him, I said, look, I know you were a DJ for X number of years and you DJ'd on your stuff. Don't touch my shit. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't do it. Why? Doesn't use Serato, doesn't use a controller, doesn't use this. Dude probably still uses either PC DJ or not that it's bad, or virtual DJ. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with that at all. But the problem is there's a big learning curve between those and Serato. And especially the way, I'm making my playlists and I'm changing and building my playlists. Thank you to Crate Hackers, by the way. And I'm about to make that jump. And when I do, I'm going to call the boys and I'm probably going to document it because I'm one of those guys. And it was funny. The past week, they came out with a new song. And I think that was Bun that did it. It's called Too Many Songs. I'm like, what the hell am I watching? I'm like, yet another, and their marketing is fabulous for this. They must have, I mean, hopefully they're making a lot of money because shit, they're spending a lot of money on marketing. Yeah. And I saw this and I had to watch it till the end, and I hopefully everybody else did. But I'm just like, wow, way to get the point across, because they got to get the point across to the old heads that, or those that don't open their mind, that think, well, I'm cheating. This is just cheating. It's not what they think it does. It doesn't help clean up their hoarding issue that they have with music. Basically they need to do an episode of show like Hoarders on one screen and then show another dude's crates on the other, because really that's what it's like to me. You look at somebody's crates and you're like, what the hell? Did you just take all of your music and throw them onto the screen? Like, how do you find them? Well, I just used the search box. Then why do you have 20,000 crates lined up? How do you find them that way? Well, I just used the search box. Okay, whatever. Enough said.
Yeah.
All right. I
think just to that point, like the days of bragging about how big your library is gone. Like there's even no reason to do that anymore. And
my library is bigger than yours.
The reason why I'll say that is because you could have 1 million songs, but if you don't know how to program music, that doesn't matter.
That's right.
If you don't know how to appeal to the audience that you're in front of, that doesn't matter. The amount of music you have doesn't matter.
Nope.
All you need is the right 200 songs. Maybe not even that many.
Not even that. Nope. Well, and then somebody said to me, because I was the guy, I said, oh my God, you said what I would say. Because I would then say, well, what if that person comes up to me and they want that song that you don't have? And I kind of gave him a smart answer, but what's your answer? What would your answer be to that? Well, I carried everything, but that person comes up and they want that one song. What's your answer?
First of all, I would never tell somebody I don't have something. Usually my normal response to anything is, let me see if I can get that in for you. That's it.
I love it. Let me see if I can take care of, if we have enough time. I know I've got a lot of requests, but let me see if I can do that for you. Oh yeah. Yep.
That's not a yes. That's not a no. That's a, if you're lucky, it might get played.
Right. Yes.
And depending on what it is, hell, I'm not going to lie to you, man. There's been times where people have came up and made a request, and I've been thinking to myself, well, shit, that'd probably actually mix better in than what I was about to play, so I'm going to play that instead.
So you've never told somebody no?
No, I haven't. No, actually, I've never said no to anybody. Okay. But I've never ever said blatantly yes to anybody.
Man, I have no problem saying that to either. I had this one kid, and mind you, I got screwed on it, but I knew the song and I knew what he was trying to do. And he put down the song. I don't know if you know Guns N' Roses. Appetite for Destruction. The song's called Get in the Ring. And it was put on the request list, and I knew what it was, and I ignored it. He finally comes up to me, he goes, oh, you got to play this song. It's really important to us because it's called Get in the Ring. Can you put it on next? Can you put it on next? Can you put it on next? He pushed me. I said, no. Well, why not? I said, have you listened to it? He goes, well, no, it's a special song for the class. I said, wait, you didn't listen to it? Well, no. I said, why don't you listen to it and come back to me? As a matter of fact, I said, why don't you let your principal listen to that song and then come back? You know what that song basically is. It's every dirty word that is noticeable on the planet put into that song, but in a derogatory, Oh yeah. But in cases like that, I have no problem saying, no, you're nuts. And look, I'm hired at a nightclub. Okay. I'm playing at a nightclub and I'm playing rap and trap all night long. And the drunk country girl comes up to me and says, will you play Redneck Woman? No, not at all. No, I won't. And she looks at me like, well, why not? I said, open your eyes. Take a look around. Take a look around. I said, if can I stop the whole place? And I could say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to put you right on the center of the dance floor. I'm going to say, this hillbilly here requested this song. Can I call you out in the middle of the crowd? Well, no. Why not? Because she knows exactly what's going to happen. They're going to throw their fucking drinks at her or me. Because there's 350 people in a nightclub that have been listening to whatever all night long. They don't want to, they're listening to 2 Chainz or whatever. They do not need to hear Gretchen Wilson right after that. It's not going to happen. And I have no problem looking her in the eye and saying no. So
no, I think if I was in that position, I still don't know that I would say no, but I would probably follow up her question with a question like, do you really think that's going to fit the mode of what's been going on so far?
Now, mind you,
that's part of the vibe.
Now, if she hired me or this was something that was under my company, then I would, I'd nicely I'd nicely pat them on the back and put them on their way. But since I have a job to do and I'm working under another company's name, and they said, their answer the same way is get the fuck out of here. Same thing. That's my answer, and I will look them in the eye because But then again, I'm the second. I'm the second person. You know what I'm saying? But that's what the people at the club will say. They'll actually kick you out. They'll get out of here. Get out of here. What do you get out of here?
I haven't worked in that environment in so long. I guess I missed that because that's funny as hell. But I get your point. No, don't get me wrong, man. I get your point.
They'll kick you out. They'll kick you out for smoking cigarettes, but yet if you light up a cigar or a joint, you can stay.
Yeah.
Go figure.
There's some classy joints, man.
Well, but then again, it depends. Are you at a $5,000 or a $10,000 minimum table?
Nice.
That's the difference. And that's what they talk about in the managers meeting. They said, well, if they're smoking a cigarette inside the club and they're not with that table, politely push them out into the hall and then push them outside. Whereas if it's a big brawler and he lights up a cigar and he's at a $10,000 minimum table, you just let him do what he's doing. And if anybody complains around him, offer them a free cheap bottle of, Brut. Because the Brut that goes, Brut, right? You probably right. How much does that? Like, I haven't purchased that. What's that cost? Like $25 a bottle?
Maybe,
right?
I don't know. Maybe they pay you to drink it. I'm not sure.
I probably get it for 10. They're charging $250 for that in the club. That's the cheap stuff.
Yeah.
And I get it, but it's hospitality. So the person that's complaining about, they're smoking cigars over there. Here's free bottle service for you. Oh, okay. All of a sudden that cigar doesn't smell as bad as it did because they're getting a $250 bottle. Now, mind you, that bottle's only worth $10-15. But
now let's just hope those people don't watch our show, man, because you just gave that away, and those now they're going to be pissed that the upcharge of the bottle, man.
All they got to do is walk next door, because the ironic thing is right next door to the club is a State store. Nice. That's the most ironic part of the whole thing. But then again, they're not playing. The State store doesn't bring it out with fireworks in their hands. There's not 3 girls in their underwear and 2 guys in tight shirts with signs saying, look at this idiot. Look at this idiot. Look at this. You know what bottle service is in Vegas or these big nightclubs. That's what they do. All eyes. Hey, look at this guy. He just paid $250 for a $25 bottle. But that's what it is. All eyes on me. That's what one of the cards say that these people are dance up and down with, or happy birthday to you. Normally it's birthday or congratulations or whatever. But one of the cards says all eyes on you. And then I just push one button and we programmed all of the DMX moving headlights to really move to the section of the club where that person bought the bottle. Why? Right. You were dumb enough to pay all that money. I'm going to put all the lights on you and sparkle them, but that's what it's about. It's hospitality.
Do you think that those people get burnt out?
Those? Oh yeah, dude. I see them in the gutter about 3:00 in the morning when I'm leaving, they're the first people in the gutter,
I'm just busting chops. I feel like we've gone all over the place tonight.
Pants are all soaking wet and you wonder why. I'm like, wow, did they happen to lose themselves?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's all right. Look, I worked last night was Halloween, right? Speaking of burnout.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. And they're like, we're going to leave early. I'm like, really? You're going to leave early? And the club's done at 2. Yeah, we're done at 12. So we're done at 12. It ends up, nah, we're really done at 1. I mean, they kind of close the music by 12, but by the time half the fools push you out, then it's 1 o'clock. I'm like, okay, 1 o'clock. I'll jump in my car. Got an hour extra. I'm not getting home at 4. I'll get home at 3. Make my way up the Interstate 95 because it runs up the whole thing. There's a 11 alarm fire in the city of Philadelphia at midnight that shut down 95. What is it? 4 lanes one way, 4 lane the other, because the smoke was that thick. Wow. It was a building that's where they store tires.
Oh goodness, yeah.
Oh goodness gracious. So yeah, needless to say, I'm home at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning this morning. So that's why I'm all over the place. I haven't even slept yet.
No worries.
But I'm going to.
Yeah, well, I think this has been a fun show. Hopefully a little bit of humor, a little bit of information. Yeah. We believe it or not, still have people watching, which is great. It's nice to stick around with us this long, especially with all the craziness that's happened on the night show.
Ding! Should I turn the dinger back on?
Yeah, why not?
And it has something to do with that damn haunted computer, because the minute I shut that off, it all stopped.
Yeah, it's gone away. I don't hear it anymore.
Now I'm going to spend the whole entire day tomorrow wondering what the hell made that thing go ding, 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 ding. Unless somebody
maybe it'll reveal itself.
I'm going to, and if I find out, boy, you'll be the first person to know, because it drove me nuts.
Yeah, call me and tell me.
Anyway, I don't know, anything else to add before we get out of here?
Nah, man, I think it was a good chat, and what we just
yeah, you just, I mean, we don't want to burn ourselves out. We don't want everybody else to burn themselves out. We want them to relax. Take, just slow down a little bit. That's all. Slow down and evaluate what you're doing. Right. And take some time, for yourself, for your business, for the family, for whatever, just to give yourself some mental rest and relaxation, because without it, man, you can really, really burn yourself out.
Easily.
Yeah. And to that fact, and especially because Braden brought it up, build your network of people so that when the shit hits the fan, or when troubles come, you'll have a network of people that you can call on to help you to make those problems less stressful. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. When troubles come, they don't come as single spies. They come in battalions.
Love it.
You know your Shakespeare? Of course you don't.
No, I don't know anything about Shakespeare,
okay.
So I'm trusting you.
No, that's it. It was one of my majors. I had to drop the English major a long time ago.
Yeah.
That's all.
There you go.
All right. That's about it.
Yeah, man.
Want me to leave us?
Yeah. Why don't you take us out for the night?
All right. This concludes another amazing episode of In the Cue Podcast with Greg Curran and David Hanscom. Thank you for joining us. Please don't forget to like our podcast, subscribe to get notified of future episodes, follow us on social media at In the Cue Podcast. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, if you have ideas for a show topic, please email us at hello@inthecuepodcast.com. With that said, before I say goodbye, we are going to have a couple symposiums. So if you are interested in joining them, talking about a few things, we were talking with Hugh about a couple, we were talking with Chase about, I know one's about pricing, and I think, my mind's all over the place. There was another thing. It was deeper than professionalism. Hugh was talking about it, but it was really microing it to the point of, talking about dress, talking about the dress of your equipment. But I want to have a symposium with some DJs. So I'm looking for those DJs that are established. If you're out there listening to us, drop us a line at hello@inthecuepodcast.com. We'd love to have you on one of our symposiums as well. Absolutely. With that said, thank you for joining us. Thank you to all the characters and all the locals that come by, say hi, and show love. And we'll see you all next week.
Bye, y'all. Have a good one. Ding.